Can DeepSeek replace lawyers? I've tried it, let's review it and rate it 1 to 10. First, the prompt. Can you draft a B2B SaaS contract for my startup? It needs to be a subscription model to the SaaS, renewed monthly. It needs all the usual clauses a SaaS contract would have. Why a business-to-business software as a service contract, you ask? Well, I'm glad you asked. First of all, it's because it's my specialty. I've been negotiating SaaS contracts for the past 15 years, totaling over $1.5 billion in value for my clients. So if there is one contract that I know from inside out, this is it. Second, there is plenty of good reasons why a B2B SaaS contract is the best one to test. I give a few good reasons in the short video I made detailing the framework for this series. I will link it wherever I can, either on the playlist or in the video description below. But enough of the chit chat, let's get down to business. Oh, and they're gonna create a tailored contract for my startup. Like, yeah, I'm sure it's custom made for my very descriptive business plan. As you can see, it is a decent looking contract. It uses capitalization to define important terms. It clearly identified the various clauses, and it used simple enough language to understand. For this, I'm gonna give DeepSeek structure and clarity 8 out of 10. And now we move on to intellectual property. Intellectual property, or IP, is one of the most important clauses for a SaaS contract, if not the most important clause. For those who don't know, intellectual property is how you own an idea, something you create. It can be a patent for inventions, it can be a trademark for logos or brands, it can be a copyright for artistic creations like this video, or it can be a trade secret like the caramel recipe. Now let's see how DeepSeek identifies the IP and protects the software. I'm sorry, what? No, that can't be right. I mean, there is not even a definition of intellectual property and no clause saying that we own the software we license to the client. This is so bad. I mean, if it was drafted by a lawyer, you should fire him immediately. It actually is so bad. It could be a valid malpractice claim. Imagine spending years building a software, creating something with sweat and blood and tears, just to say to the world, it's open, take it, steal it from me, please. It's ridiculous, it's outrageous, it's bad. Plainly unacceptable. Needless to say, this is garbage level drafting. This deserves a 0, absolute 0. But you know what else is important? Like and follow for more. Was it smooth? Absolutely not. But now, confidentiality. Confidentiality is really important because you want to not only protect your confidential information, but your client's information as well. So confidentiality, I'm glad there is something here. Each party agrees to protect the other's confidential information and not disclose it without prior written consent. That's really like a confidentiality clause in a nutshell, but it is really lacking major amounts of stuff. Well, this is a very minimalistic draft. If it was drafted by a junior lawyer, I would definitely put him up to training sessions. I'm giving this like a 2 out of 10 for efforts. Now moving on to limitation of liability. Limitation of liability is like in the top 3 of the most important clauses because it's really how you protect your business from bankruptcy. Basically, if you're selling software as a service, let's say to $10,000 per year to a client, you don't want to be sued for $1 million if something goes wrong. This is how businesses make sure they stay in business. Let's take a look at how DeepSeek addresses this. Okay, so neither party shall be liable for indirect, incidental, or consequential damages. Provider's total liability shall not exceed the fees paid by customers in the X months preceding the claim. Okay, this is not exactly a bad starting point, but I think you should never trust an AI to actually draft this section for you. The reason is there are too many local legal implications, various types of damages, things that you cannot even cap your liability for. So it's really important, at least if you're using AI to draft your contract, have a local lawyer review the contract, or at least at the very least this section, to make sure it is bulletproof and that you don't expose your business to too much risk. So while this is a very basic draft, it does cover the very basic stuff that we are looking for. So for this, I am giving DeepSeek 4 out of 10. And finally, the boilerplate stuff. Okay, so there is something I guess. So the boilerplate stuff is really the bunch of clauses you see in the generic section at the end of a contract, but don't underestimate them because it can contain very important stuff like sections forcing an arbitration or mediation before litigation, which can save you a ton of money, or even if you want to sell your startup, like what's going to happen to the contract if you're selling? Is it automatically assigned to the buyer or is the contract canceled? It's really important to plan for those clauses. And here what we see in this draft, it's totally missing. It's the very bare minimum. There's a lot of stuff that needs to go in there that is absent. So for this, I am giving DeepSeek 2 out of 10. And now, the verdict. Alright, I think we've seen enough to make a judgment call here, but first I would like to point out that the score we're gonna give is not a reflection of how good of a tool DeepSeek AI is. I'm sure there are many positive points to say about this product, but the reality is this series is about evaluating whether or not AI is ready to take on the role of a lawyer, and on this point, I need to give DeepSeek the score of 1 out of 10. It is not total absolute garbage, it is just the absolute minimum. But the worst part is you don't even know what is important and missing from the contract, so dangerous stuff. So it seems I get to keep my job for today. Next week, we take a look at Claude. All right, see you guys.